I'm back here again with Patty Parlor Games, and we're doing a show now. How about that?
It's early for you and it's late for me. How about
Yes, I
that?
got the time completely messed up. I'm so sorry.
That's perfectly okay. We've got the time completely messed up. We're still doing fucking daylight savings time. Come on.
It's daylight savings time. Don't get me started. Imagine
Right.
letting the government tell you what time it is, right?
We could be just savage animals roaming the wildlands without a care in the world, but taxes got to get paid, son.
Yeah, just stick your head out the window and look up. That's what time it is. If it's cloudy, if
How
it's
will I
cloudy,
ever
wait.
know? If it's cloudy, it's a perfect day to stay home and not worry about what fucking time it is.
Exactly. If it does, it doesn't matter what time it is. Yeah.
So, in other words, how do you do? How's the past, what has it been, 2 weeks?
It's been 2 weeks. It is pouring down raining over here. My internet was down for the longest time. That's part of the reason. The other reason is I forgot. And today we're going to talk about, I think we said that this time, I have Midwesterner syndrome.
Oh,
I have
I get
Midwesterner
to
syndrome.
interview you
Right.
on
You're
your
gonna
own
interview me on
show.
my own show.
Okay, so we gotta go all the way back to the
Oh,
beginning,
my.
like the making of you.
Okay.
No, so first and foremost, your geographical location, because you have Midwestern sensibilities and cultural backgrounds, but you are currently living in. Are you allowed? Like, are the feds
Oh,
after
I
you?
think
We're
everybody
supposed to keep
knows.
this information
I
secret.
think everybody knows. I am so off. I'm in my bug out location, and I've been here for a very long time. Yeah, I'm in Xinjiang, China, which is not far from Wuhan. So during the pandemic, quote unquote, our city was the second one quarantined.
Oh wow.
Yeah, in the world.
Did you have to have your doors like welded shut, or was that
That
blown out of
no,
proportion?
that did happen. That okay. Here's
Oh my god!
that did well. Hang on. We did not. Well, they didn't actually weld people's doors shut, except for in places where like the virus was supposedly tearing through the city, which didn't happen to us. They just like most cases just blocked the city off, and so nothing got in, and so the people inside the city were able to go pretty much, go about their business, under heavy restriction, except for like the initial like the immediately after they declared quarantine, the entire country was completely shut down. Nobody could go anywhere for 2 weeks.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Nobody was on the road. Nothing happened. Nobody went anywhere. And so during that time, we were right. But fast forwarding, when it started to like jump the boundaries and started to it started to break through the quarantine and started tearing through the country, then they came to our house at like, see, this is at the point when people had been locked down in like the whole Shanghai thing, where they were locked down for like a few months, and like people were starving and jumping out of windows. So like people were already like, there was already a lot of blowback to the whole quarantine thing. So they didn't want people to know, and the whole thing was a scam, which I guess we can get to later if we want to. But
Always.
right. So they would start trying to quarantine, start trying to drag you away at like 3 a.m. So they came to our apartment like 3 a.m. Like, we're all going to quarantine. I was like, nope. Right. Everybody else in the building had left, and my kids were already in the van. I was like, and my wife was already downstairs. I'm like, no, I'm not going. It's like, this is not what I want to teach my kids, like, to knuckle under to authority, especially corrupt authority. So I said, I'm not going. And I guess nobody had
Okay,
told
so
them.
that's more questions for that's more
Nobody had
questions
told
for
them
me
no
later.
before. Nobody had told them no before. And I hung out the kitchen window and I gave them a lesson in physics, in Chinese physics, right? In civics. I gave them a lesson in civics. You can't do that. China has a constitution. We're a rule of law. It's not a real, which if you're going to argue with the police, the Chinese police, that's the way you want to do it, right? Because they're very sensitive about not being a country ruled by laws, they think that this is something that makes the West better than them. Actually, this is like 15 years ago. There was like a minor scandal when they did like a poll or something, and it found out that most Chinese people did not know that China had a constitution. Right.
Whoa.
So
Okay.
which it does, right? But nobody follows
I
it.
guarantee you that even less people would know outside of China.
Yes,
that
it
China
guarantees
has a
freedom of
constitution.
speech and freedom of all these freedoms. And if you want to, right? So there was like a mini scandal, and Xi Jinping announced a Constitution Day, and every bookstore was forced to put like copies of the Constitution like on display, like right at the very front of the store. Which apparently nobody bought because I never saw anybody with them, and I never saw the stacks like deplete. I bought one, obviously, because I'm that guy.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna go to bat,
Right.
using civics lessons, you better have your source available.
Yeah, if you ever get into a thing with the Chinese, first of all, the Chinese police have never read the Constitution; they have no idea what's in it. Right? This is traditional, right? Like 5,000 years, they're not a society of laws at all. It's they're a society ruled by strong men, right, who do what they want.
Okay.
Right. And so, if you really want to, if you want to go at it with the police, you like have a constitution and copy the Constitution, wave it in their face, and like, start barking about.
Do your daily push-ups and have a loud voice when you tell them no.
Yeah.
It's like, oh crap,
And
this guy's actually quite strong.
not to toot my own horn or anything, but like I completely argued them to a standstill, and all they could say was like, "Well, I bet you think you're awesome." They actually said that to me. You must think you're pretty awesome. I was like, in this respect, yes, I am. I am pretty awesome. I'm not even from here, and I think I just kicked your butt. So I said, I'm not going. And I went out in front of them, and I did like, have you ever seen Stand and Deliver? Mm-mm. Oh, this is like the 90s, where it doesn't matter. Lou Diamond Phillips like puts out his I killed him. His body's rotting in my locker, and he puts his hands out like in front of him to cuff him like that. I did that. I did like the Lou Diamond Phillips. I put my hands out in front of me, like, come cuff me, asshole. And they're like, we're gonna come back and arrest you later, right?
and then
they didn't.
And then they
didn't. Okay, but because of that, right? Because they couldn't get the last person out of the building, they just canceled the whole thing. They didn't have to do it, right? So they just canceled the whole thing. Everybody got to go back home. Our entire apartment block, everybody got to go back home. And and they never come back.
I've got.
And then they chained the door. They chained the door on the outside of our apartment for about a week.
What the hell? Mm-hmm. Okay. So, man, I should have gotten like a piece of freaking note paper here because I've got like 6 more questions.
Go ahead.
Okay. So, first is a little bit of a commentary. I think depending on the way that you look at it, and I could be getting a little bit overtly pedantic as well, but I don't think anything is a nation of laws. Every nation is ruled by strength and decree, because there's tons of times where if anybody would show a healthy resilience, especially if they had just even a small number of their community backing them, they would be able to get away with a lot. Well, up until like stuff like Ruby Ridge and
yes, well, okay,
Texas.
There is a difference.
But anyway, okay. So that's really interesting to know. Secondly, is it freedom of speech if the government compels your speech to display and have copies of the Constitution?
Well, they didn't make people have it. They just put it on display and invited people to come get it.
Well, the stores.
Oh, the stores are run by the government.
That. Oh, okay. All right.
It's a Xinhua bookstore.
Yeah.
I guess it wasn't all the bookstores. It was there's a major chain called Xinhua. The same as the news service, the wire service, the Chinese wire service. Yeah, they had it.
Okay, so there's that. And then they chained your door for a week.
Yep.
So
Which didn't matter because we can
I
come and go
guess.
right out the window. We're only on the second floor. We shimmied up and down the drain pipe.
Get
Of
out!
course.
I hope that you took some pictures
I took a
for
picture of the
merriment's
chain.
sake.
It's somewhere. I posted it and like I got no reaction. I was like, okay, never mind.
Thanks, guys. I'm only dealing with stuff.
I'm
that
only
you
putting
guys
my
never
life on
would
the
have
line.
Okay, so you grew up a kind young Midwestern boy with all of the manners and American upbringing.
Yes, yes, yes.
Um, at what point during your formative or even slightly later than those years did you decide, you know what would be really great is anywhere but
I
America?
didn't say that. Um. Okay. So,
Tell me more.
um, I'm from northern Utah, which is if you've seen Napoleon Dynamite, that is shot in northern Idaho, or sorry, southern Idaho. It's in
Yeah, I was gonna say
yeah, it's
Southern.
in southern Idaho, like about 40 miles away from my parents' house.
Oh, very
Right, and
nice.
that it.
Yeah, I'm pretty familiar
If you ever
with
thought that,
Southern Idaho. I
yeah,
spent most of my summers in Southern Idaho.
yeah, for people who don't know, right, if you thought that that movie like exaggerated how ridiculous that area is, like no, no, no. If anything, they underplayed
No.
it. If anything, they were pulling their punches.
As a really quick aside, did you ever watch Gentlemen Broncos?
No, is good.
It's almost like a spiritual sequel to Napoleon Dynamite, and I absolutely love it. So
Gentlemen
anyway,
Broncos. Okay, I'll see that today. Awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, like at the very beginning
So
where they're
yeah.
like doing like the sign language dance or sign language song. Like, yep, yep.
Oh yeah, no, it follows a young man who lives in the same area, northern Utah, southern Idaho, and he's trying to write sci-fi novels, and he's pretty decent at it. All-star cast. Let's see, they've got yeah, it's an all-star cast. Can't remember a single friggin' name right off the top of my head. Sam Rockwell's in it.
Oh,
They've
Sam
got,
Rockwell. I love that guy.
yeah, Sam Rockwell. They got the guy that was in What We Do in Shadows.
Jermaine Clement?
Shoot, Jermaine. Yes, Jermaine
Oh,
Clement.
wow.
And oh yeah, but I loved it. It was pretty good. So yeah, Gentlemen Broncos. So anyway, you grew up in northern Utah ish
Yep,
area.
yep.
Did you go to school like for college, or did you go to a trade school? Where did you learn graphic design and art?
I was at Utah State University for a few years, and then I was at Portland State for the end of it.
Okay, so then you spent some time in Portland.
Yeah, well, my mom's family is from there, and I spent like, I guess, kindergarten through freshman year of high school. I spent there,
Okay.
Portland. Hmm.
Quite a few. enough time. I'm sure that really helped with your research,
It
getting
did.
into Portland
It
occupied zone.
did. Well, it's pretty much, yeah, Southeast Portland. That's where we lived, and it's very right in the middle of the Hawthorne district. We're very close to, a few blocks away.
I've never been to Portland, thankfully. It was, I don't know, 10 years ago, almost now, that my wife and I had considered when we were young and dumb moving to Portland. Oh, we'll fit in there. And we never pulled the trigger on that.
Yeah.
we went a totally different
It
route.
used to be a
But,
really cool place, for what it's worth.
I wouldn't disagree. I haven't met anybody that I didn't like from Portland yet. There's when I was growing up through Las Vegas and I went to a particular school. It was really interesting how many of my classmates weren't from Vegas that that I got to hang out with, and a couple of them were from Portland. But I don't know anything about its geography or the makeup of the city. So when you say the Hawthorne district, I'm like, yeah, cool, sounds great.
Well, I just get the game, man. Until
will
you learn
have to.
all
I
about
mean,
it.
if anything for Alice, you shared a picture today of what looks like we're so That I just as a quick aside while I'm thinking about it, when you share pictures on your socials like Twitter,
Uh-huh.
people playing Virtue Signal or Portland Occupied
Uh-huh.
Zone, are those pictures that you took
No, no, no,
from
no,
where you're
no,
at
no, no, no.
currently?
No, 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 no. There's no other. No, no.
Ah.
These are pictures people sent to me.
Oh, okay. Very
Very
cool.
cool.
Yeah. I saw that Nerd Cognito got it on their table and was taking some pictures. I look
Yes, I
forward to
think they're
hearing
gonna
their
finally going to
review.
play it. Yay.
Very good. Okay, so you went to high school in Portland, and
I
then
went
you
to high
did,
school in
and then
I went to
you,
high school in
or
Logan, Utah.
oh, I'm sorry, you said college was in Portland, right?
Half of college was in Utah State, and half of college was at Portland State.
Okay, and then when did you start traveling abroad, and why did you make why did you start traveling outside the country?
Well, all the things that are coming out right now that where people are realizing just like what a state the country's in, like all conspiracy theories are real. I had my red pill moment in 1999. Right, I was extremely red pilled by the Yugoslavia war, and I just spent days in the library just like digging and reading, and like everything I read just like horrified me and led me to another thing that horrified me even more, and I got really freaked out. And I thought, okay, well, I'm
Okay,
gonna move away and never come back.
so are we talking about stuff like the Rothschilds and like the planned sinking of the Titanic
Well, no, I did not quite
and
that
so on and
far,
so forth,
but
or
just the way the war was prosecuted, like everything was a lie, man. Like what we're finding out now, what we found out about COVID, what we're finding out about the Ukraine war, and what we're finding out about this war, I was just like everything is a lie. And everybody believed it. It was 1999, right? Everybody believed it. And you cannot get a single person to listen to you. Not one, unless they were already crazy.
unless they were already
Right? People
crazy.
are
Okay,
already crazy.
so
Yes, they'll listen to
are
you.
yeah, I was gonna say, are you of sound mind? Are you
Well,
in a
you
safe
wonder,
spot?
right? Like, am I crazy? No, no. It was like, okay, no, no. It's all right here.
Sure,
I went
surely
through
it
all the
must be the
court
case.
documents for like the Milosevic trial, right? I started like,
So that's where you're getting me right now. I was like, I can't even say that I'm familiar with all that much.
oh well, same deal. It's the exact same thing that they did in Ukraine. It's the exact same playbook,
Oh,
beat for beat, right? They infiltrated this. What am I trying to say? The CIA supported these heroin warlords in Albania, the UCK, I believe. I hope I'm getting that right. It's been a long
okay.
time, and incited them to attack the Serbian military and the police. Right, and the Serbs fought back. There was fighting. Some people died. Okay, so then the Western media like blows it all up and say that the Serbs are waging genocide, in Kosovo, like hundreds of thousands of bodies. There's no proof of this at all. It's a lie. It is a complete lie. It's a completely a total lie, a complete fabrication. There were 2,000 dead on both sides, all of them combatants. Right, all of them, police, military, and this insurgent group. Right, so NATO begins bombing the place, just like carpet bombing the entire country, and the Kosovo area, and people start leaving as refugees. Right, most of them go back up into Serbia because they are Serbs. Right, and the press gets on this, and they start taking a video and like, look at these refugees fleeing the genocide in Kosovo. Like, no, butthole, they're fleeing the bombs. The whole thing was a lie. The whole thing was a lie. And the rape camps and the mass graves and the this and the that and the whole thing, nothing happened. The whole thing was made up.
Okay. So as we move forward into the future and more, well, I guess the present, and more people have access to phones, do you think they're getting away with it nearly as often
I
as
think
they were?
I think
Or do you think it's
there's
just become easier for them to get away with it because it's a lot easier to fabricate
I think it's getting harder to
those
fabricate.
images?
People will say it's social
Okay.
media, but
Well, that's a white pill moment. If it's
that's
getting
it's
harder to
partly
fabricate,
that.
it
It's
gives me
partly
hope.
social media. Partly is because they've just gotten really, really reckless about it.
Lazy.
Yeah, lazy and reckless. Like these
Okay.
aren't the people who like created these institutions and these procedures. They're just kind of like going by the best practices guide, just like going by what's in the binder, right? It's exactly the same. It's beat for beat. It's exactly the same playbook.
Do you think it has something to do with don't fix what's not broke versus they're building a tolerance to this medication or this drug that we're giving them?
And part of it is that people are building up a tolerance.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. COVID radicalized a lot of people. Like if you're in charge, like if you're deep state, you got to know that you screwed up. But it looks like they don't know, right? It looks like the midwits have
Well,
taken over.
I mean,
The midwits have taken over the deep state.
yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. Do you think it has a lot to do with the same incompetence? I mean, because we talk a lot, or not you and I, but there's a lot of people that talk about these people that inherited working systems, or
Yes.
they inherited
Yes.
companies that have been working for a really long time, but they didn't really take the time to learn why those things work.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
we're at this really interesting crossroads, this intersection where there's a lot of people that say, I don't think those motherfuckers are really giving us the bill of goods that they're selling
No,
us.
I think they
Meanwhile,
kinda
the other
like,
people are just like, oh yeah, this is what Dad did, and it worked out for him.
exactly. That's exactly what's happening.
But
People
really,
are
they're just
talking.
kind of like
I see this
pantomiming
word
that
bouncing
they
around
heard
on X, the competence crisis.
it. Ooh, see, I haven't seen that bounce around, but I've been thinking about it a lot. It kind of reminds me of the City of Children, where like everything's blowing up in the background, or what is it, City of Lost
City of
Children?
Lost Children.
With Ron Perlman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Des enfants perdus. Yeah. Cité des enfants perdus. Anyway, that reminds me. I had like this whole monologue prepared. Do you remember Y2K?
Oh, let's hear it.
How old are you?
I'm 30. I'm about to be 31.
Okay, so maybe not so much.
Oh, I remember. I was going to be 8 that year. Well, I was 8 that year. So I remember being a young and impressionable child.
So people like in normie space have this recollection of Y2K as like this being like a stupid redneck thing. Right. And it became that over time, or that it was a scam thing, like people, using as an excuse to like sell you all a new computer system. And both of those things are true, right? But it began on Usenet in the mid to late '90s, on the comp hierarchy. You know what I'm talking about? On Usenet, this was the internet before
No.
the World Wide Web, right? We had these news groups, right? And mostly just scientists and computer professionals would use this. And there was like somebody mentioned that like the date's gonna they do this thing on in the year 2000, and people
Where
started.
the computers weren't coded.
Yes, everybody knows that part. Okay, and then sysadmins started going through taking inventory of their systems and realizing they had no idea how they worked. Right?
Oh, okay.
So at that time, I was working at Nationwide Insurance in Portland, Oregon, and I was one of the network administrators. So I was with the sysadmins, and we had no idea. So we did the Windows computers, we did the Windows servers, right? And that's the only thing that we knew, right? So that's mainly serving files, mainly serving files to everybody, but all the data was on AS400s, right? Which are like old IBM, like big refrigerator looking things. And that's like a generation behind from the 70s. They had like this, this old hardware from the 70s. And we had no AS400 guys on staff. We had like a contractor who would come in. So we knew nothing about these machines, right? And we didn't know how they worked. We only knew how we interfaced with them. We had like an SMS server that transferred data back and forth, and that we knew how to work that. But anything behind that, right? And then below the AS400 servers, there was like this old COBOL mainframe, right? And there was like a dude who lived in the basement of that company, and he had job security for like he did nothing all day, and nobody ever talked to him, and he never came out. He was like Richmond in the IT crowd, right? He just like lived back there, and nobody could ever fire this guy because he was the only person who knew how this COBOL machine worked. And he wrote like a batch program that would transfer data over to the AS400 every night, and it took him 15 minutes. And every day he ran the batch program, and the rest of his life he just sat there and did nothing, right? So.
Some people have their bag secured.
But you see my point? It's like layer upon, like strata upon strata upon strata upon strata. Everybody knows their one part, but not even the person who runs the thing understands how the thing works. And he doesn't know if it's going to break. And if it does going to break, he doesn't know where, right? So it wasn't like we're definitely sure that the world is going to come to an end. Like in the year 2000, it was like, we have no idea how this stuff works. We didn't build it. It's too complicated for one person to comprehend.
I wonder if it really is that complicated. So a lot of the story that you're telling me has the same beats as great grandma and cutting the ends off the roasts.
Yep. I think, and I feel like I think a lot of things work this way now, right? Nobody understands how the thing works. Like, that's the impression I get from.
I don't think it's even that. They're not interested in why it works. Because a lot of the reason why we came up with a lot of our inventions and, the necessity is, why we needed to invent such a thing or why we needed to develop such a process. People have become so detached from these necessary processes, or, they live in such in a comfortable way that they're not interested in the why. So that means they're never going to be interested in the how.
Right. Well, there's that too. Yeah. So you don't train people. Dude. This is basically the, if you want to get really technical, this is the thesis of Jacques Ellul, the Technological Society. It's not just that technology has become that way. Everything has become that way, right? Like, nobody teaches you how to build a car. They teach you how to build the part of the car that it's your job to build. Nobody knows how to build a car.
Fair.
Right?
Okay.
And that's the way the education system works. They don't teach you knowledge, right? They teach you what lever to pull to get the result that you need. You pull this lever and the pellet comes out, right? Which is technical knowledge.
You think that you think that would be efficient, but really you're just kind of like where we're going here. I mean, we're all just mice in the maze, kind of following.
Well, it is efficient as long as everything works as long as nothing changes, right? But as soon as you get like some kind of a black swan event, right? Mm-hmm. You have to wait for that thing to break before you understand, why it broke. I think that's what's happening now. I think there's a lot of black swan events happening right now. People are going by the gray binders. They're going by best practices. They're pulling the lever that does the thing. And they keep, like you see, like CNN, they just keep yanking on that lever, right? Doing the thing they've always done. It doesn't work. And they don't change because, they don't change what they're doing because they don't understand why it doesn't work.
Do you think that's where I
think that's exactly what's happening.
Like we've got to burn it down because it equates to that. Have you tried turning it off and turning it back on again?
Basically.
Okay. So all right. So we get to the point where we're looking at all the Yugoslavia war.
Oh right, and
you're reading
really
all this stuff, and you've decided that, oh my God, I don't think they're delivering the product that they're selling us. And so you read these books, you did your research, and then you decided to do what?
Oh, I went to Japan, and I lived there for about 5 years. Yeah, and I got myself involved in a. Well, the easy way to do it is just to teach English, but I can't do things the easy way. I had to do things the Japanese way to prove that I could, for myself.
Fair.
And so,
Okay. You got to pull that Japanese flavored lever.
yeah, right. So I joined.
So what did you end up doing?
Oh, I joined a telephone company.
Not teaching English.
No. I never taught English. It's too easy. Why would you do things the easy way?
I don't know. I hear that English is incredibly hard.
Not for me.
I still struggle with it daily.
Yeah.
So anyway, you did you said a telemarketing company? Telephone company.
Yeah. I built their network basically. I designed their network. Here's the thing. I am not that good, right? You would not hire me to build your network, and this should make you suspicious, right? The whole thing was a scam. The whole company was a scam. Yeah, the CEO is in prison now. It was a pump and dump. They were going to pump up this thing that looked like a telephone company, and they were going to sell it to China Telecom for I think 300 million yen, which isn't that much if you think about it. But
well, I mean, it's what I think China might have learned a little something about
yeah,
that because
that's the thing.
weren't they on the
where the
hook
thing
for
all
like
went down.
putting people under crazy contracts?
I'm jumping ahead. That's where it all went down because the
Okay.
Chinese were not fooled.
Okay.
We're not fooled at all, and they're like nope. So
Okay, so you got hired to build this company. It ended up being a sham,
yep.
and then you went to go teach English.
No, I never went to go teach English. Never do I teach English. Yeah, but okay, so right, so this all goes down, right? The company folds, the investors sue for fraud, and the whole company gets put on a blacklist. And this is how Japan works. So do all the employees, right? So we are never going to get jobs in again. I was like, okay, fine, I'll just leave. And at that time, this is like, gosh, I don't know, 2004,
Early 2000s.
2005.
Okay.
And I went to Dalian, which is, they were hiring. Do you remember? You probably don't remember this. But when they were outsourcing, all the tech support to India. You probably remember the end of that.
I was going to say, I don't think that ever ended, did it? Because I'm to this day.
Oh, I thought that mostly ended. But yeah, people thought, again, just going by, not understanding how anything works and just going by, well, this worked, we'll do it again over here. So they, they decided they were going to do the same thing because Japanese employees are also very expensive, right? And we're going to outsource everything they do to China, which is much cheaper. So they were hiring people who could, support technical equipment in Japanese, which I can. So I applied for this job and I got it. And basically everybody who applied got it because there was only in the entire country, maybe 50 people who could do that. There just aren't that many. India is an English-speaking company. There's, millions of English speakers. Right, but in China, Japanese speakers, not as many as you would assume. Well, exactly as many as you would assume, hardly any.
Well, I mean, they can't even read their own constitution.
Exactly.
They can't even read their constitution. I can't imagine that they can read their own language.
It's not their own language. It's Japanese.
Anyway. Well, fair enough.
Right.
That's not what I meant to say. What I meant to say was it would be hard for me to assume that they would know any other language other than their own.
A lot of English speakers. But no, they hated Japanese. You would never learn Japanese.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so you were proficient in Japanese and learning Chinese in order to be able to fulfill this new role.
I'm proficient in both.
Very good. Okay. And a little bit of French too.
A little bit.
If you guys didn't catch the
a little bit.
The City of Lost Children.
Yeah. A little bit.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Okay, just as a quick aside here, when did you start studying all the different languages? And is it
Oh,
as hard to learn a new language as old people like to make it out to be?
I enjoy it, which is probably makes it easier. But when I was about 15, yeah, I
Oh, very good.
stole,
Yeah, I'm trying
I
to get my
borrowed comic books from the
younger
exchange
kids
students
into
and
it.
just read them. This was
Okay,
I
so
am an old school weeb. Like this is before fan subs. This is like 1986, 1987, right?
well before even Akira made it across the pond.
Just before Akira, yeah, Akira, not Akira. But yeah,
Thank you. I'm gonna stick with my with my terrible
how dare
pronunciation,
you?
only
How
only
dare you?
because that's my sincerest and most genuine love for the form. Akira.
Yeah.
Um. So, you now you're moving to China.
Yes.
With continuing with this telephone establishment kind of job that you've admitted to not being super duper good at, but you know both of the languages decent enough to be one of the 50 people.
Well, I was pretty good at. I think I was pretty good at the technical support. The whole thing, the whole. I don't know if people are interested in hearing this, but the whole thing was a complete fiasco, right?
Okay.
Japanese are. They're very tolerant, right? And they're very, non-confrontational up to a point. Up to a point, right? Until you
Okay.
really, 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 really piss them off, and then they just stop talking to you. Like we're done with you, right? So the Japanese people, the way it worked out is that they fired like all the Japanese support guys, right? They hired us, and they wanted us to work with like the Japanese office. They wanted us to work together. They hated our guts, right?
Oh.
Because we were scabs basically, and not only that, but the Japanese they do things their own way, right? Like we have, I think it's this way in a lot of international companies where they'll have like, we have like our corporate standards, and this is the way we do this, and this is the way we do that, and the Japanese are like and they just go do what they want, right? Because they understand this, they understand these customers, and they understand this market much better than you do. They're like, you're just okay. That's very interesting, but we're gonna do it the right way. So you can just go pound sand basically. And so the one reason they hated us is because that we had replaced their friends. Two, our Japanese was not as good as theirs, obviously, and three, because we followed like the procedures, right?
Okay.
And the Japanese were accustomed to doing things their own way, and we did not do things their way. We do it the way that we were told. So, if that makes any sense, I don't know how interesting this story is.
So I think it is. The way that you were told, is this
Well,
now
for
from
example,
like a Chinese business acumen? Is the way that you were
well,
told from this
the
point, or
company is
was this a Japanese
the company is Network
company that
Appliance,
was
NetApp, Network Appliance, and there's like a internet network attached storage, right? Is what we were supporting, and for example, like the Japanese would have a custom of like leaving cases open indefinitely, right? Just leaving them open, and so
that doesn't sound like a good
I don't
practice.
know. Well, it's a courtesy to the customers. The Japanese customers like it that way. Just
Okay.
like leave it open, and I can, they can add things, as they need to. It's like call up, and it's very friendly. And the guy who was running our department, he was German. He was very, boom, by the numbers, and he like insisted that you close out, the call, as soon as the issue is resolved. And so we did, and they were constantly pissed at us. The customers were mad, and like the Japanese, the managers were mad because we kept doing this. That's just one example out of many. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, and none of the
talk
American
about
management, none of them spoke Japanese, right? And
So you had American management. You had a guy that headed your department that was German. And was he trying to translate everything through German into Japanese
no,
and
no, it
then
was
into
all in
English,
English. It's
or
an American company, so it was all
oh,
in
okay,
English. But right, so anytime the Japanese wanted to communicate something to them, they would go through me, right? They'd say it in Japanese.
oh, very
And so
good.
every time there was a grievance, it was me like raising the grievance. And so, yeah, like that's not the level at which you want to have those communications. Like going through an employee,
No,
the whole
for
thing
sure.
was a mess, man. It was just a mess. And of course, yeah, it ended up.
And you were still in Japan at this
No, no,
time?
this is in China. This is in Dalian, up by
Oh, okay,
up in Manchuria.
okay. And then I cut you off. I'm really sorry. So this German guy, you were talking to him at not even mid management.
So, right. So they'd say that the Japanese people's like, we want to do it this way, and they translate for them, and he'd say, no, 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 we have to do it this way, and I translate it back to them like, no, 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 we have to do it this way, and so they got pissed at me, right? Because I'm the one delivering the message, and then they complain through somebody else that I was not doing the things that the way they wanted them to do, so I was always in trouble. Yeah, it was just a complete mess. And anyway, it all closed down because so all these companies moved into Dalian, like take advantage of this outsourcing thing, right? There's only like
Okay.
50 guys who can do this job, and so the Hewlett Packard would move in, and everybody from NetApp would jump over to Hewlett Packard, which was double. He was paying twice as much, right? And then somebody else would move in, and then they'd have to double it again to get the same guys to move over. And sooner or later, it was more expensive to do it there than it was to do it in Japan. So
Wow.
yeah.
So you were doing the telephone thing,
Mm.
but you said that you studied art back in the States. Do I recall that
Right.
correctly?
So, well, I got into IT. This was like during the dot-com bubble, where everybody who wanted a job in IT, it doesn't matter what your background, you get a job in IT.
Because that was just the thing to do at that point.
There were so much demand for IT people in the late '90s that there were guys with psychology degrees, there were guys with liberal arts degrees. You know how to work a computer? Come on in here. You're their new system administrator. I'm like, awesome, right?
So when you say that, oh, you know how to work a computer, did that mean that you knew, like, oh, did Control C exist at that
Of course.
time? Oh, okay. So I was like, man, that guy knows
I knew
Control
some
C.
stuff, but I
Get
never had a
in here.
degree in anything in anything engineering related or in computer science.
So how
or
did you
anything.
go from art to IT and then back into art?
Well, I
Because
never did art until well, okay. After that one, I moved to Beijing. After this whole
okay,
Dalian thing collapsed, I moved to Beijing, and there were. This was. I'll tell you what happened. You probably don't remember this either. This was about the time that Lenovo acquired the ThinkPad from IBM.
okay.
You know what I'm talking about? The ThinkPad,
I've
their
worked.
laptop.
I've Yep. I've worked on some ThinkPads. They are they were the driver of choice for a couple of different entities that I worked at. Namely, we had a bunch of ThinkPads in the Army. We had some ThinkPads when I worked for Quanta Telecom.
Right. So this is right about then, and IBM. They were like worked closely with the federal government and the CIA. So there was like spooks crawling up and down, like trying to make sure that nothing sensitive got transferred over to the Chinese. And so they were hiring a whole new staff in Beijing to support all this stuff, including like Japanese guys. So I applied for that and I got it. And they were hiring, as I recall, like 25 engineers and 25 designers. Right.
Okay.
And right, I did the interview. I did the interview, and I thought it went pretty well. And then somebody from the Chinese office called me up and said that I hadn't passed. I'm like, oh, okay. Oh well, next time. But then, like an hour later, A Japanese guy calls me up for like a second interview in Japanese. He just wants to test my Japanese ability. And like the Chinese people told me I already hadn't got the job. So I was like, I just, was being really stupid and silly with the guy. Right?
Oh, okay.
Like, who cares? Right. And because I got it. So it turns out I did get it. But okay, this guy, the Japanese guy who hired me, he knew that I had passed the interview, but he did not remember if I had applied for an engineering job or a designer job. And because I thought, well, it doesn't matter anyway, so I thought, oh, I applied for the designer job. It's like, awesome. We're gonna put you in charge of the design department. Like, awesome. So,
nice.
Yes. So I'd never had a design job before that, but I knew how everything worked. But yeah, and that's how I became a professional designer.
So as you said that you ended up being in charge of that design team. Yep. Was it more of a job of you were checking on what everyone else was working on and making sure that it looked good and functioned well?
Before you decide that what we did was actually cool, let me tell you what we did. Right.
It's too late. I've decided.
Design.
I wouldn't be doing this interview on your show. I wouldn't be interviewing you on your own show if I didn't think you were cool.
Okay, I guess I'm pretty cool. So here's what we did all day.
So anyway,
the designs, we cleaned up photographs and put designs. We cut out the screen of the computer and put like geometric designs. If you've seen those, this is for the website and for catalogs. Like cut out the screen and put like weird geometric designs on the screen.
I think I can picture it.
I did
that. What it might look like.
Didn't take very long, and then like all the actual design work, it's all centralized. So it all came out of California, and they would send us blank banner ads, right? And then with the English. And they provided us with the translation. So our job was literally to type the Japanese into the computer with a keyboard. And that's all.
So it was much easier than hitting like Alt Command Function 56-7 in order to get some kanji or...
Here's the thing, though. It was the exact same thing. They had fired all the Japanese staff at Lenovo, and they had us working with the people, the friends of the people that they had just fired. So they hated our guts too, right? Also at Lenovo, and so it was literally a matter of like the font, the text was pre-decided, the font was pre-decided. Our job was just there's 20 of us. Right? And then our job is just to type this into a computer and put it on the banner ad. And because they hated us so much, they would have us move it like move the text like 7 or 8 times before they would approve it. Right?
A little to the left?
Yeah.
No,
that's where it was before.
A little bit farther up. You need to go back down. Okay, so there's almost like a running theme here. So they didn't like us, so we ended up doing this other thing.
Yep, they didn't like us. So.
Okay.
They hated us so much.
So I'm not that I'm not interested in all of it.
I'm sure
was I correct in remembering I wanted to say that there was. I remember you talking about in our last conversation. You were doing design for some Dutch stuff.
Oh, that was much later. That's when I went. Okay, so from here, because I was doing nothing all day. Again? Because I was doing nothing all day, I started to take on client work, and I did that in the office. Right.
very, very good.
Right. I advertised in the Beijinger, like lead designer at Lenovo, like doing freelance work on the side. And I started getting some client work. And when I had enough client work, I just said, you know what? I don't want to type text onto a banner ad anymore. And I quit. And I have been freelance ever since. And that was my last job ever in the world. That was 15 years ago. At least.
But were you still in China when
yes,
you were
I was
doing
still
this
in China.
freelance work?
Still in China. Right. Because of this, gosh, I guess we can get into. No, there's not enough time. How
Oh, there's
moribund.
what do you mean there's not enough time?
How
You're the boss. This is your
I
show. You
guess
decide
so.
how much time you want.
The design field in China is just the shambles. And part of it is cultural, part of it is communism, right? There's so many reasons for this, but they don't teach art at all in China.
They being
The Chinese.
the government doesn't
No,
in
the
their
government is
public
not
schools?
interested in this at all, right? The government, the Chinese government, and I guess we can go into like what motivates the Chinese government. They're like materialist in a way that their only thing they're interested in is appropriating Western tech and practices as quickly as possible, right? And the things that they're interested in is physical infrastructure, machines and stuff, right? So if you take a design course, they will teach you how to use the software, right?
Okay.
The design field in China is considered part of IT. It's considered a part of IT. So if you study to be a graphic designer, they will teach you how to use Photoshop and how to use Illustrator, and that is all, right? They don't teach you like
But they won't actually teach you like color
there's
theory, art
nobody to
theory.
teach it. There's nobody to teach it. Nobody knows that is a thing that people teach.
Oh, okay. Another quick aside question: do you think that the average Chinese person is what was that thing that was there a name for the thing where it's like, oh yeah, no, I when you say apple, I can like picture the word versus I can picture a vivid picture of the apple. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Oh, okay. So there was like this thing. It's
Oh, I remember
one
what's
of those like
going on
carousel.
Twitter.
Yeah, it's one of those carousel topics where it's like every once in a while somebody comes up with it where it's like when you say the word apple, I can see the text apple or I see nothing. Versus the people are like, oh yeah, there's like a cartoon apple, I can see the red. Versus the people that are like, oh yeah, I see the stem, I see the red. And then there's the other people that are like, I see the shine against the apple casting a reflection on a desk, and then the stem is,
I see a fourth dimensional apple.
not.
All things apple, like coalescing at the same
I can
time,
smell it.
kind
I
of
can
turning
taste it.
inside out, inside out, inside itself.
Oh yes.
Yes.
So, Salvador Dali, apples aside,
Yes.
do you think that the reason why they don't teach a lot of like theory, maybe even art history, they just
Nope.
don't? Do they do history at
Not
all?
art history. No, don't teach art.
Wow. So all they do is technical lever pulling stuff.
If in the schools, gosh, I haven't thought about this in a long time. This was like a lecture I tried to give to people. Like there are people in your country who are awesome designers, right? Just I got to hang around with the Beijing School of Calligraphy, right? If you know anything about like Chinese calligraphy, those people, right, are master designers, but they don't consider themselves designers. They consider design to be IT, and they consider art to be art, and ne'er the twain shall meet, right?
Okay.
So yeah. So I started to get like
I guess
really vocal about this thing, and it got to be a little bit of attention. And I guess my design work was better than, I don't know, or at least different than a lot of the people locally. Which doesn't say that China does not have some really good artists or even some really great graphic designers. It absolutely does, but they're not in that space. They don't work as graphic designers. Doing graphic design work. They are painters, or they are calligraphers, or they're doing something else. Right? The real artists.
Yeah. Okay. You don't think that graphic design is because you did say like these people are real artists. You don't think that graphic design is a real
I
art?
do. They don't.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. I do recall seeing you post some pictures of you trying to do like a
Oh
seminar
yeah,
or some sort of
that was
convention
what that was
that
all
looked like
about.
in China, and
That's what I was talking about.
yeah, that's the
That's
one?
what I was talking about. It's not just graphic design to anything like soft science, like marketing or yeah, marketing. Marketing's a big one. You want to hear something really funny?
Always.
Okay, so they do not teach marketing in China at all, right? The marketing, if there is a marketing department, it's just kind of like a friend of the boss, and what they do, they just copy, right? That's where the copying, where China copies everything. Yeah, they do, right? Because they don't put. It's not like aren't creative people in the country. There are, but they're not in any positions of power, right? So
Okay.
it's like we are going to have a marketing department because that is what Western companies have, but we don't know what this department does. So you make the ads, and like they have because they didn't know what they're doing. They just like copy this American thing, copy this Korean thing. Those are the two main ones, right? Copy this American because Korea has really good graphic design. Copy this Korean thing, right?
Is that okay? So, not being somebody who really cares to understand the difference, maybe I will in the future. But is that the reason why there's sometimes I see some Eastern Asian type commercials where it's like, oh yeah, you guys got Arnold Schwarzenegger to do
Well, that's
like ramen
Japan.
noodles,
Japan,
or
they're great at advertising. That's completely different. None of this. China doesn't have a.
okay.
So okay,
I don't know if I've ever seen any Chinese specific commercials to really understand how China decides to market
oh, they're
stuff.
shot for shot remakes of American commercials. Shot for shot. They just put Chinese people in it. Other than that, it's completely identical. They just copy it. They straight up copy it.
Even with our like cultural idiosyncrasies, like oh gosh, why is do they have a version of like American football commercial season?
No, not that. Well, these would be for product that they have.
Well, then they're
Like
they're not copying it very well. Okay, so anyway,
I remember
products
there
they
was like
have.
a Centrum commercial. Centrum, like the old people medicine. It was like that is
Okay.
uncanny, and I watched them side by side, right? And it was shot for shot, even down to the timing, in the gesture, like the expression on their face, which is anyway, doesn't matter.
Are you talking about like the one a day Centrum vitamins?
Yes,
I could just imagine like there's like an American old guy who's got like gray hair and a mustache, and then there's like a Chinese old guy who's got like a
I
really
was on
bad,
I
like,
was
spray painted.
on a shoot. There's this guy, like occasionally you meet like a guy who's like is really upset. No, it really gets under his skin that you're an American, right? And he has to prove it to you, like how awesome China is. I didn't say anything to this guy. I was consulting. He was. It was a design firm that I was consulting with. They had hired me to do a thing, and I went. They were shooting an ad for real estate. This is like during the real estate boom, which I guess just ended recently. And they literally made it up as they went along. They had no script, right? They had no plan. They made it up as they went along. Like literally, like he come over to me
Sounds
like,
all of
we
American
need these
Hollywood.
guys to be doing something on the stage. Can you think of something they could be doing? Like, so I thought of something. But anyway, I was going to say, I was in another marketing department, and I started hearing. So nobody knows anything about marketing. There is no marketing lingo. There are no marketing professionals, and I'm in this meeting, and I start hearing this, like, you know how like corporate buzzwords. People started using this word I'd never heard before, like tongdian. Tongdian, like what are you talking about, tongdian? The word tongdian is pain point.
Oh,
Yes. Marketing had wormed its way into Chinese society via Amway, multi-level marketing.
oh no!
I kid you not. So
God.
yes, the one
Hold
thing
on,
I always
I need
applauded.
to say
Go
something.
ahead.
My mother, man, she got sucked into that hardcore for a
Well,
long
you are from
time.
Idaho.
Mom, if you ever listen to this, I absolutely love. Well, she's from Vegas, like born and raised. So she was right next to she was close enough to Anaheim to make the excuses to go to these continuing education meetings and these business meetings and gosh. Anyway, so Amway made its way into into this market, and then now we've learned this word. You said
Pain point.
pain point.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
we go.
The CCP. Well, multi-level marketing had been illegal in the country for a very long time, and I think about 2014, 2015, they finally decided through lobbying. I'm sure they made multi-level marketing legal, and that was the vector by which Western marketing ideas entered China. So you start hearing like all these like really aggressive marketing terms. And here's the thing, though: they don't even use the word pain point correctly.
Okay.
They use it to mean sensitive topic, which isn't what it means, right?
I could see that. I could see why people would say pain point sensitive topic.
Right.
It's like, ooh, that doesn't feel
Yeah,
good
it's
at
just
all.
people spreading jargon around they don't understand. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so where was I? Oh yeah. So design and everything is the shambles. So I don't know. I kind of started to get a little bit of attention, and people started asking me to come around and speak, and like literally schools like that thing that you saw me with the picture with me giving the address to all those people.
Hmm.
Yeah, they that was a school, and like we don't know how to teach design. I'm like, okay. So yeah, so I have a whole bunch of PowerPoints put together. Like here's how you do this, and here's how you do that, and color theory and design theory, and right how to manage a project. That's the big one. Nobody knows how to manage a project. If I
Oh, so you don't have like a bunch of people that took like a 2-year course in project management,
no
like going and getting
no
6-figure
design
jobs at
project
the age of
management is not
24?
something that people know how to do. So I got a lot of
I
that.
mean, I don't really think that a lot of people who hold those certificates know what they're talking about either.
I'll tell you how the
So,
design process works in China, right? Okay, so you have a room full of really demoralized Chinese designers who get paid very little and have zero freedom, zero.
okay.
Right? The people who clean the floors have more autonomy than the designers. Anybody in the department, okay, anybody, sorry, not in the department, anybody in the company who wants any design work done for any reason walks up to the design department, grabs a designer, and says, "Do this for me, and do it the way I say." Right?
Okay.
Anybody, a secretary, anybody anybody who needs anything done. There are no standards. There is no branding guide. There is no a creative director to oversee, right? The brand the design standards, right? The people they just walk upstairs, grab a designer, do this for me, and do it right now. And so yeah, you probably don't see this in the international companies, but that is why if you go to like a Chinese website, it just looks like a pile of vomit, right?
I'll make sure to stay away from those sites because I am a sympathy vomiter.
Sympathetic vomiter.
Yeah, sympathetic vomiter. I'm like Chunk in the movie theater.
The last corporate gig
Okay.
I ever did was I don't know 2017 or something like that, where I tried to impose order on one of these. They hired me to do it. Like, we'd like you to come work for us. We think your ideas are interesting. Like, okay, but there's going to be order here, right? No more
Okay.
loosey goosey. We gotta have standards in place. You do enforce the. Here's the thing: they're very happy about having standards in place, right?
Okay.
They do not like it when you enforce the standards.
Oh shit.
Like
What? Okay, so kind of like going back to the
no, dude,
going back to your interaction
one
with
more
the cops.
one more
is
thing,
it-
one more
was-
thing, one more thing.
Yeah.
Taobao, possibly one of the
Okay.
richest companies in the world, has no brand guides. I know this because I asked for them. I was like, well, what's your brand? Okay, for branding guys, well, we have this logo, right? Okay, all right. Well, what's your brand color, for example? orange. These are the designers, right? Orange. Like there's no Pantone colors, it's just orange. And so if you go through their Hangzhou facility, right, it's all colors of orange from burnt sienna all the way to pink. Just runs the gamut.
Oh,
just
geez.
something a little bit orange. Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, but so you took this job, you said like 2017, 2018, but you've also been concurrently freelancing for
These were these
what
weren't
would be
job
at this point
jobs.
like a decade or so.
I consulted for
Okay.
them. Yes.
When did you finally get into game design? Because I know the infamous Trump flag that I've got hanging ceremoniously behind me was in 2015, 2016, right?
Was it? Yeah, that sounds about right. So I was doing it concurrently for a little while, and then I started doing it full time. In addition, I had Chinese clients and I had American clients.
Okay. What when you worked with your American clients, did it feel like a reprieve, or were you excited to get right back to
Americans
your
are
Chinese
obnoxious in
clients
different ways.
Are they like just two opposite ends of the spectrum, or do you find that they actually like overlay enough in like certain aspects, but with different flavors?
You know what? I'm trying to think of a good example.
I'm trying to think of when you were describing like somebody would grab a designer and tell them you need to go do this like right now, versus like an American designer being like, I need you to do this right now because this is my vision, versus I don't know, like somebody says taking your vision under advisement, however, versus somebody like, I don't have time to listen to what you got to say, I just need this designed like this.
Well, okay, China is chaotic in the sense that like you can make whatever you want and throw it up on a corporate webpage and nobody's going to say anything, right? There's no order at all. The Americans are obnoxious because they're too orderly, right? They will hire you to change something and then not actually change anything.
That's really interesting because I think I remember reading somewhere that it said like our military, a lot of the reason why we win is because we are just a force of chaos.
Really? Okay.
But anyway,
Could
yeah,
be.
like and I totally fucking believe it. I mean, I did 10 years. I'm so glad to be done. Yeah. So you're working with American clients and Chinese clients.
Yeah.
Who would you rather work with?
I'd rather be doing my own thing. I'd rather be doing this.
Very fair.
Freelancing is awful, man. It's just awful.
But did you ever come across like when you were working in the Chinese companies where if you had said something that a lot of people didn't agree with, that you were going to find yourself out of a job, or were you just way too valuable
constantly.
At that point? They were like,
No. To be honest, like some people, this was back when like the whole country was like awash in money, right? And they would do it like for fun, right? Hey, let's get this American guy and like let's see what he can do. And by 3 months, it's no longer, they don't really listen to what you say, and they'll anything you ask for, they'll tell you yes, right? And then you go and do it, and like, after about 3 months, they're tired of you, and then the contract is over, which is fine because there's like 100 others, who want to do the exact same thing.
So you've been in China all this time,
Yes.
not necessarily.
Yes,
I think
all
earlier at the beginning of this conversation, you said that you were in your safe bunker or your bunker space.
Yeah. Well, I am. Well, in my bug out location, it's not a bunker.
Bug out location. Oh, okay. So, I guess China isn't necessarily your bug out location. Do you have separate locations from which you operate?
China.
Or when you say that, do you mean that you're in the same home that you've always
Well,
been
when
in for the past?
I started doing freelance work, I moved out of Beijing, which is very expensive. I moved to the interior of China to where I am now, which is very cheap, right?
Okay.
Make an American salary and then live in where the expenses are almost nothing. You can live very well.
Hey, you better stop trying to sell me on that. My wife is ready to go live somewhere on like a
Do
couple
it,
of
man. If
acres
you're
for
doing
cheap.
creative work, doesn't have to be. Don't have to.
Ah,
China's probably not your
I
thing, but
absolutely.
move to Costa
Well,
Rica, live on the
I'm,
beach.
well, we talked what was it a week ago about moving to Russia. It's like,
Yeah.
hey man,
Well,
does Russia need some electricians?
you can Russia. You can homestead Siberia. They'll pay you. I know they'll pay you, but they'll give you
Oh,
free land if you want to come homestead Siberia.
I don't know. I could live down the street from Sarah Palin and see Russia from my house. Is what I'm told,
Ah,
and that
yeah.
could be just as good
I
for
can
me.
see Russia from my house. I'm sure you probably
I
could.
can see maybe. But that's all beside the point. My wife has got this. I not that I don't, but I was always afraid that the two things that I was interested in, construction and more specifically being an electrician these days, and then on top of that, nerd time hobbies, wasn't gonna do me well in the middle of nowhere.
Well, not the
But
electrician thing.
I'm glad that you're proving me wrong. What's
But
that?
if you want to do like creative work, like full time,
Hmm.
you wouldn't
I
need a
don't
whole
know.
lot of money to live in a, a place like Costa Rica. All you really need is internet, right? How much does that cost?
I,
Internet
I
and
don't know.
electricity.
I,
And then eat bugs on a stick or whatever they eat down there, and yeah, live a comfortable rest of your life.
oh, only for the first season, because after that, my garden is going to be great
Oh
in Costa Rica.
yeah,
It's like a year round.
your
I look,
banana
man. I
garden,
do what I can to cut. I do what I can to cut costs here. I
banana
raise I
garden.
raise meat rabbits. I tell you what, man. The first time you grab one of those fluffy bastards by the ears, you're like, how how hungry am I? Anyway,
Anyway,
um, what is okay, so now we've kind of brought ourselves from Y2K, I guess technically 1998 until now. We glossed over the 80s and
yeah,
such.
there's nothing to talk about.
Uh game making
Ah,
games.
yes,
What does that
games.
mean to you?
What does making games mean to me?
Yeah, what does it mean
What
to
does it
you?
mean to
Was
me?
was
Like
it
at a
something that
personal
I
level?
remember you saying I remember you saying something about like, oh yeah, card game. That's something that I can make by myself in house
Yeah,
and on the
yeah,
cheap.
true. It was well. I had
Did it
done it
mean
several times already.
no way?
Yeah.
What was the first game you worked on?
Um, there was a company called App Annie. It's now called Data AI, Data.ai, who does.
We talked about that a little
Yeah, I
bit.
think we did. They did a deck of cards um, of like apps. Right. It was like a promotional thing. It was they distributed at GDC, Game Developer Conference. Yeah, and it went in
Hmm.
the swag bag. Right. And so I designed that, and I designed it, and I oversaw the printing. So I already knew, yeah, I already knew how to get that done.
So when you say that you know how to get that done, the game that you designed, was it a uh were you writing the rules from the ground up
Oh, there
and
were no rules. It was just like
developing?
collectors. It was just like collectors cards.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then going on from the this app Annie and doing swag bag giveaways. I guess Virtue Signal would have been the first game that I would have heard of you
Yes.
from.
What was the first one
And then
that
we're
I made?
talking about
Uh huh.
okay. And then what did you go? What was in between that first collectible cards, deck of cards, to
Nothing.
Virtue Signal?
Nothing. That was the last one.
Nothing. You
That's
went.
the last one.
Oh, okay. Very, very good. Okay, so then you started going into Virtue Signal, and given everything that you had read about American history and all of the stuff that was going on with that, why choose what some people would call the MMORPG, the world's largest MMORPG of Twitter, rather than I don't know a game of maybe like spy versus spy, like a spook versus spook. Like we gotta teach people about some other stuff.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Game theory has always been like a hobby of mine. My not my dissertation, but my university at Portland State. We all had to give like a speech in Japanese on any topic, like for part of our final grade. And yeah, I did mine on game theory.
For the lane man, could you describe what game theory is?
Game theory is well, there are many different classic games, right? Um, uh, they're all very psychological, and the classic games are reducible down to like a very simple system. Like if you've seen A Beautiful Mind, right? John Nash, whose mind is not beautiful. He is the most evil, one of the most evil people ever to have lived. But general
Oh,
dynamics,
hey.
right? If everybody goes for the blonde at the same time, then nobody gets her, right? If we all go for different girls, then everybody gets a girl, right? But if everybody goes for the blonde, then nobody gets anything. Things like that.
Okay.
And yeah, so I'm always thinking about how to reduce social phenomena to kind of a classic game, to like a simple game. And
Okay.
it's interesting. The more interesting
And
games have
then
like internal contradictions, right?
whereas I've played two games of Virtue Signal, and not because I didn't want to play more, but I've only been able to grab the people that own the game. I'm working on my way to getting it myself. But what's the internal contradiction of Virtue Signal?
I don't. Well, I don't know if this has one. Uh, Virtuesign is a really, really simple game.
Okay.
The well, the way we had it initially is what's the closest analog to? So you got like these people on Twitter, right, or
Hmm.
whatever, or wherever, and they're trying to build a following, right? So it's just a general accrual of points, right, and
Hmm.
so it's kind of like a race. And the
Right.
the closest analog I could think of to the way this worked was the French auto race card game Milbournes. Milbourne.
Yeah, I can't say I'm familiar.
Milbournes is
And when
really
you say
simple.
race, I think of almost kind of like a death race
No,
because
no,
you
no, no,
spend
no,
a
no.
good
Well,
portion
we'll
of
get
your
to that.
time
We're going to
in.
start hanging things on it in a minute. But like the simple game
Okay,
is
right. Take me for this
stop and
ride. I'm ready.
go. You stop and go. So you in Milbournes you have a you're in a car, and the point is just like to reach a certain score, right? So every time you draw these cards, you put down cards like 25 miles, 50 miles, 100 miles, 200 miles, however many miles you traveled in that day. And if you get to like I think 1,500 points, you're the winner. Okay, but the other people are trying to wreck your car, right? By putting hazards on you, right?
Okay.
Flat tire, out of gas, auto accident. And to undo that thing, you have to get the thing that undoes that thing. So if you have a flat tire, you need to get the spare tire, right? If you have an out of gas, right, you need to get gas. You put gas on it, and then you can play go, and then you can start playing miles again. Right? It was just go, 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 and that's the way it was for a while. Like, okay, it's pretty much like Melbourne's. We're just going to start accruing followers. And we just had them in this. I just had them in a stack. Like, okay, but how do I improve on this? And so the next thing I did is, well, instead of just like one running total, why don't I do four? Right, like divide it into four different categories of social justice, and I had it into identity, race, economics, and politics,
Hmm.
right? Yellow, green, blue, and red. And so I had those. And so instead of, and then four different kinds of miles, four different kinds of points that would represent four different kinds of people. that you would accrue for, and then 4 different kinds of hazards that pertain to those points. So when you get the hazard, it would only stop you accruing points on one of your stacks. Okay. And then the next iteration, this is like iteration like 6 or 7. Instead of, you've got these alignments, but this isn't terribly strategic. You know what I mean? Like the way it's just a running. You're just clicking up on like a calculator. You're just like running up points. It's not very interesting. So we're gonna lay it out in like a grid, like kind of like dominoes, right? So then I introduced the character cards. So you always want looking for another opportunity to do character design, which is what is my favorite thing to do. So I made 8 characters, and they all had like their unique like valences, like around, like they have their own different alignments. And then instead of like just putting the cards into a stack, you spread them out, like they connect end to end, end to side, like dominoes do, right? And along the alignments. So that was much more strategic. And then the next iteration after that, instead of putting the hazard, you just put the hazard on the character, right? This is against you, the character. I was like, no, instead of doing that, we'll put it on the card.
The track.
Right, on the track. Right. And so it inhibits growth there. That way you can put like multiple hazards on one person. And then I had the idea of like, I can individually name all these hazards. They can all be unique, and they can all be original artwork, right? And that's like the bulk of like the design is like thinking up, you call those the microaggressions. And then also, which I didn't have to do.
Suspicious teapot.
You didn't have to. I could just, put in generic virtue signal. You virtue signal your way out of this thing by playing the generic virtue signal card. Could have done that. But like, no. Individually illustrate all of them. Give them all unique names, and every single one of them is a joke. Right. That'll make it fun. And that's basically that's basically the first virtue signal game. Basically that. Just the virtue signals and the microaggressions. Oh, and then I added the plot cards to change the rules because I felt like that would make it more dynamic. To change the rules of the game. I get criticized a lot for it being like INWO. You ever heard of that? Steve Jackson, Illuminati?
Oh,
they think I copied. I didn't.
It's
coincidence.
I was gonna say I stopped playing Steve Jackson. Oh man, probably after Cthulhu Munchkin, and I don't know. Not that Steve Jackson wasn't great. He, I think his stuff eventually became Games Workshop as we know it now. But anyway, that's beside the point. Typically, when it comes to Virtue Signal, I remember the first time that I played it, I was like, man, this has got all of the same like laughing points that people would try to sell me on Cards Against Humanity, but it actually gives me the tactical and strategical acumen rather than just hoping. Yeah, rather than just hoping somebody like chooses my stuff for the memes.
Yes.
As an aside, I could tell you the exact moment that Cards Against Humanity was done for me.
Tell me.
If you're interested.
Go ahead.
Okay, so my wife was kind of a cultural Luddite. She grew up in a household that didn't let her watch a whole lot of movies, and by the time that her and I had gotten together, I had watched a shit ton of movies because both my parents worked night jobs, and when I was home, the only thing we had was video games and movies, and when your other two brothers were playing the video games, you watched the movies. Yeah, so I think Fantastic Beasts had come out, and we watched it because it was one-off. And my wife was like enamored with it. She said, "Wow, that movie was actually really good." I was like, "Yeah, it was pretty good." She's like, "And that's like part of Harry Potter, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's Harry Potter." So we both scheduled a 2-day weekend off together when we were working at this deli in this incredibly small town in Montana. And we rented, what was it, like, is it 8 Harry Potter movies? Because I stopped watching them. I stopped watching after 4. At that point, I think I was grown up and I was kind of done with Harry Potter.
I think it's 8.
Yeah,
I lose interest about
they broke
6.
up. I think they broke 7 up into 2 parts. Yeah. Anyway, so we watched all 8 Harry Potter movies in sequence in a marathon, and immediately right after that, her high school sweetheart Tanya decided, hey, we just picked up Cards Against Humanity. You guys want to come over and play it? And we're like, yeah. The black card that my wife pulled in the second round of the game was I never truly understood blank until I encountered blank. And my response to her prompt was, I never truly understood licking things and claiming them as your own until I encountered Daniel Radcliffe's delicious asshole. And it was so incredibly relevant at that point for the two of us, as well as like, when you play Cards Against Humanity, one of the things that really gets me is like when you play with people that lack the charisma to announce the cards.
Uh-huh.
And so whenever I try to do, I try to keep it lively and give it comedic timing, and maybe it falls flat because I could be too full of myself. But that particular combo, watching my best friend and this lady that would eventually become the wife and the mother of my children laughing at licking some other man's butthole. It's just like
tasty.
I said, you that's it. I have won Cards Against Humanity, and perhaps somebody else has gotten a better story than I do, but this one right here, this takes the cake. And ever since then, people are like, oh yeah, we hear that you love Cards Against Humanity, and I'm like, yeah, okay. And it was actually one of my really weird mutual friend, a German girl, that said, oh no, I've got this game called Virtue Signal. And I said, I don't know if I really want to play that. And then she showed me some of the cards, and I was just like, my lord, I get every single one of these jokes.
Of course you do.
Yes, please, tell me more. I don't know if I get every single one of them. Like I said, I played it twice, and I haven't seen them in a long enough timeline.
I have promised
the current goal is
to
pay my mortgage and buy the all-in set.
The all-in set just got bigger.
With Greta's.
Yep, and NPC.
I gotta. Okay, hold on. I want to talk more about game design. So
we'll do the next one.
Game theory. Yes, game theory. We've gone from the first version of Virtue Signal, and then I think I started cutting you off because
you wanted to talk about Daniel Radcliffe's delicious butthole. I get it.
I mean, I can only imagine.
Who can resist? All right, so the next iteration is deplorables. I started catching a lot of flack, like, why'd you make fun of liberals, man? Why don't you make fun of that? Not fair. Why don't you make fun of conservatives? Like, that's original, right? Dunking on conservatives. There's some fresh,
I mean,
there's a fresh line of
fruit
inquiry.
is laying. The fruit is hanging so low it's practically rotting onto the floor.
Studio 60 or every show, like The West Wing, every show does that. It's like, it's cliche at this point. Like, that would be interesting, but how do you do it? Like, I'm not just gonna like dunk on them. Like, oh, you're a stupid redneck. You love your sister and you got no teeth. Har.
Yeah.
You believe
Alabama
in
roll
angels. Me. That's not fun. But what would be fun...
What do you want to do? Grow a victory garden and have bullets?
Yeah. You believe in Jesus and you wave the flag. You're so dumb. But what would be interesting is to do the right-wingers as, like, the left conceives them and parody that, which is much funnier. I don't know. It's probably not one of the more popular things I've done because I don't think very many people got it. But yeah, the deplorables, quote unquote. This is before everybody started using that. This is just after Hillary Clinton had done the thing. And it was before, I think it was Steve Turley who started calling people started calling himself and other his listeners deplorables. But I did it first. I didn't get to mark it first, but I did it first. So yeah, the deplorable is like part computer hacker, part school shooter, right? Part redneck, and part Nazi, and just like roll those things all together. Just like these horrible, horrible people, and just like really lean into that. So like all the characters, like one of them is Trenchcoat Mafia, and then you've got like the Iron Pill Phil, which is a joke that nobody's gonna get.
I think you got me there. Iron Pill Phil. Does that have anything to do with the Iron Wall?
No, 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 no. It was I think it was really bad webcomic that was bouncing around 4chan for a while. Um, uh,
Hmm.
where it was called Green Pill, I think, and it had like these pill characters really terribly drawn, and like the Iron Pill guy, he's the guy who believed in his folk, and he was like pro Europa, and he wore like this sleeveless hoodie
Hmm.
with like white
Yeah,
power
I
symbols
need to
like on the
pick
thing.
up this.
Like if you did not live on 4chan like in 10 years ago, you have no idea what that is. But yeah, I put him in the game
I
because it was funny to
Very
me.
nice.
Uh, yeah. Anyway, the way that works is the deplorables. The deplorables is a completely separate character. He has his own deck, and he has his own cards, and he's completely independent. And what he does is he basically represents something awful or 4chan or any of these groups that do forum raids, and that's what he does. He forum raids,
Yeah.
right? So he has to like build up his guys. So he has like a spawning pool. He can build up his guys, and then he can send them to the coalitions of other players, right? Where they get in the way and they act annoying, right? And they connect to they just like infiltrate, right? And when you have enough infiltrators, you can start doing horrible things to that player. It's like what
Like eventually make the CEO of something awful and hero.
oh, make him shoot himself. No, 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 no. Make the
No.
libs do something terrible. And so there's a lot of like
Okay.
classic 4chan pranks, like putting your phone in the microwave and DDoS attack and uh, uh, oh, there's like the whole Haba Hotel invasion where you make the health and safety the swastika, right? And those like horrible memes from like early internet days, like Tub Girl and Hello.jpg and like just all this horrible, horrible stuff. Like you can inflict on people, and the if you when you do damage to like the other person, you claim them as trophies, and they score completely differently.
Hmm.
Yeah, and up until I intentionally made it very, very difficult for the deplorable player to win. I think I put in the instructions like losing is fun, right? Right. I don't think it with the latest
Fair.
update I made it so it's no longer as difficult for the deplorable player to win. I think he can win now because with NPC he can corrupt the deplorable player can corrupt surrounding NPCs with the power of his memes, right? Kind of like showing your FBI guy like your memes, and like he eventually becomes just like you. Like this guy is very persuasive. Yeah, so they can do that now. I'm pretty sure it was impossible to win as the deplorable player up until that's what people keep telling me. I was like, it's not that hard. They're like, yeah, it's impossible. Played like 20 games. I could not win a single time. Okay, fine. So, yes, it is. It should now be possible with the latest update, which is now shipping.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
And that's I remember earlier today on your Twitter you had said something like, "Oh yeah, if you order it now, you can get it technically before the Kickstarter backers."
That's
Having
true.
been, are you soft banned from Kickstarter or are you banned? Like
Well,
straight up go away.
the my two accounts are banned. I'm sure I
Okay.
could make another one.
So the NPC expansion to Virtue Signal uh was that a
That
stretch goal
no, no,
deliverable
no. That
from?
came out 2 years later. That was on Indiegogo, and that was back when Indiegogo
Oh,
was kind
Roger.
of cool, and so that did
Kind of cool.
pretty
We
good.
couldn't cross the threshold.
Yep, 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 yep.
Okay. Uh, as and you and I were talking the other day. Where I don't know if we can say this out loud, but Virtue Signal has reached its canonical end
I think
with
so. I think I might do
Algretta's
some
and NPC.
some packs, like some meme, like additional microaggressions and virtue signals, like in small packs. But like, I can't make any more additions to the rules. It's just not possible.
Right. Okay.
You're going to
It's just
break it. I'm going
different
to break
cards
it
with
if I
more relevant jokes.
yeah. Just more references and jokes. Maybe more characters, but you can't add more to the rules.
I can totally appreciate that. Can't
add
that.
more to the rules.
What made you want to cross the threshold from an easy card game? Because I think that's one of the things that we talked about. That was a card game was very feasible, something that you could do.
Well,
what made you want to cross the threshold into Portland Occupied Zone?
being able to afford it.
Okay. Are you talking about from like the designing the minis and producing?
Yeah, designed minis. I commissioned a song. I went all in. It did not make its money back, but it was fun to do.
Well, I've heard that you sent quite a few copies, not to me, but I want to buy it anyway. To people that couldn't or wouldn't or didn't review it, which I can imagine doesn't help. Yeah, and you want to know what? I stand by what I said. If you got a free copy with the intent on reviewing it and you never did, shit bag.
Yeah.
I am not sorry.
Yeah.
I'll say it for you.
Yeah, we don't have to go
look,
into that.
It's one thing.
I have to work with these people.
It's one thing.
Can't be can't be trashing them on my show.
I wish you all the best. Hey, you want to know what? Oh, you're right. I'm not on my show. That's right. I'm on your show.
My show.
Dang it.
That's fine.
At least don't ghost the guy.
Yeah. So, Portland Occupied Zone. That's a whole other thing. It's a perfect game, in my opinion. It's just exactly. I spent 2 years on it. It's exactly, precisely what I wanted it to be, and I'm so pleased.
I don't know how anyone couldn't be sold with Alice in her most compromising position. And then yeah, again, like now that you've pointed out, like, it's Magic Pink, I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
How did you come up with the names for the character?
Oh, Magic
archetypes?
Pink is a real person. Magic Pink left in my first review. It's the one that's on the before it even came out. She was on Game Found, not Game Found, the other one. Board Game Geek.
I just went to
Board
search
Game
up
Geek. She left
Magic
it.
Pink and I accidentally.
She's a poster on.
I went to go type
Board Game.
Magic Pink and I accidentally typed Magic Oink.
Yeah, she said.
Okay, so
my first review was "This is hate speech, pure and simple." So I put that right on the box.
oh, that's a hell of a selling point.
Still on my website.
Okay, just as another patty quick aside here. So you have no qualms whatsoever saying, "Oh yeah, I'm going to make fun of both sides, whether you like it or not." You might have a bend to one side.
There's definitely a bend.
Might be palpable.
There's definitely a bend.
And then when you have stuff like that, where it's like, this is hate speech right up front.
It's hilarious.
I do think it is hilarious, but you say it is the perfect game, and it remains to be seen. I'm going to believe you, but when you choose to add such quotes, do you think that contributed to it not making its money back, or not doing as well as you wanted it to do?
For sure, everybody banned it. Well, they didn't, not from quotes like that, but. Just making fun of Antifa, right? So, in case you don't know, if you listen to this show, you probably do know. Portland Occupied Zone is a very comprehensive game, dunking on Portland Antifa and their attempt at community building in the Chaz or CHOP, or the Portland Occupied Zone, which was the actual name of a zone that was around the Portland Courthouse building, I believe. Very short-lived, and that was the actual name they gave it.
It did not get
POZ, pause.
It did not get nearly as much as the Chaz Chop.
Right, but pause is a better name. I don't think many people got that.
I don't know. I think
pause is old school, like
would have done better.
4chan and something awful for HIV positive. Like He's pause, right? Pause
Oops.
my neg hole. And like so, you like get these old nerds like, hey man, do you know what pause means? Like, yeah, I do. That's
Oops.
the joke, man. Nobody got it. Nobody got it. I should have called it the Antifa game or the something that was like more understandable to like normal people, but I had to call it pause because that pun is so delicious. Eve,
Well, I appreciate you
those
for
10
sticking to
people
your
loved
guns
it.
there.
Those 10 people loved it.
I think the only thing that was more marketable about like the Chaz Chop and that kind of summer of love, so to speak, was what was his name? It was like
Oh,
Razzmatazz of Chaz Chop. It was like
the
the self-anointed king of
right, the guy with the
the Capitol
guns. Uh
Hill.
huh.
Yeah, yeah,
Their
yeah.
warlord.
And yeah, their warlord is that's not currently an available character
No, but it
in
is
Pause.
referenced. It is referenced.
Oh,
It is
okay.
referenced in the
But
game.
any plans to include
There is an
Razzmatazz of
event
the
card.
Chaz?
There's an event card that about Razzmatazz where I believe the way I wrote it is this what rapper appoints himself like head of security of the POZ, and you can either admit him, which gives you a thing, or you can say, oh, if Kim is playing. Kim is the Vietnamese that's whose brain has been destroyed by Crank, right? She likes to start fires and hurt people. She's just like the violent one.
Right.
If she's playing, you can take the option. This community already has a warlord. You can have that guy killed.
Very nice. So there was a really heavy inspiration for how Virtue Signal evolved and became the glorious card game that it is today.
Uh,
What you do, if I recall correctly, you sell Pause as a RPG like board
yeah,
game.
it's an
Is that
RPG.
correct? Yeah, because everyone has like their stats, their
Yep.
character, their equipment. They level up on like a
Yep.
spectrum. I'm sure they
A
love that.
spectrum.
Um, what made you want to dive into an RPG like? Because for me, it almost looks like a war game. It almost
It's
it
basically a
it
war
kind of
game.
has like
It's
a
basically a war game.
yeah. It almost looks like Hero Quest, but with jokes that I really like to hear about.
Right. Well, okay. So, in case you don't know how POZ is played, and why would you? It's in stages.
Soon, Christmas is around
So
the
you
corner.
start right. So you start the game like in the Hawthorne district, which is a 3x3 grid, 9 tiles, very large board, and there are 8 businesses that are color coded. Not that that's important. And each business has its own loot. So, like, what's that one zombie game in the winter?
I
It doesn't
remember
matter.
Dead Winter.
It could be
Okay.
right. So, the where
Zombicide.
the loot is specific to the store. So
Okay.
there's a bookstore. There is an absurdist theater. There is a methadone clinic / tattoo parlor. There is a food co-op and a used clothing store. All the things that you would see in Portland. And a pizza parlor, Comet Ping Pong is there. Right? Just like one of the stores on this strip. And they all have like loot that's specific to that area. So every player has a certain number of bricks assigned to them at the beginning of every turn. There are no dice. Well, there's one, but that's for the police. Every player, they decide their actions with throwing bricks. And so it's like that pig game. The way the brick lands on the table determines whether it's a success or a failure, right?
Okay.
So you go into a store, and you can loot the store by throwing bricks at it. And every 3 hits, you get to take a loot item, and some of them are weapons, and some of them are armor, and some of them are useful things, and some of them are drugs, and some of them are food. Some of them are useless. Yes, the used clothing store has Filthy Rags is the name of the used clothing store, and they have one of the things you can get there is the macrame owl, which is completely useless. It's the state bird of Portland. the macrame owl. It does nothing. But and some of them are diseases. And you get yourself equipped, right? And at any point during the game and during the time, you can choose to, if you don't want to loot anymore, you can set the place on fire, right? Which also uses big bricks too. And there are a certain number of fire counters. I believe they're the same. It's like five successful hits and the place burns down. When the place burns down, all the loot is destroyed and gets thrown in the dumpster. And there are dumpsters. There are 4 dumpsters. On the outside of the thing, you can push the dumpsters. There are barricades. If you're Allison, you can sleep in the dumpsters.
Hey,
you can pull trash out of the dumpsters. So I'll go into the dumpster. Okay, and doing certain and at the beginning of every move, here's the thing. There's a political element to it as well, right? So there is a card, an area called the struggle pulpit, which is an inside joke from a forum that I ran like many, many years ago. The struggle pulpit, and anybody who walks across it, they are the leader of the POZ. So they're the leader of Antifa to like simulate how that's consensus and like there are no leaders. At the beginning, there are no leaders. This will change. And whoever the leader is, they draw the cards and they make the decisions. So there will be like an event card, like something happening in the outside world that you have to respond to. And that will either move up your population or move up your crapulence. Okay, everybody, there's a crapulence tracker on the side of the board. And this is how you level up, by being a crappy person, basically. The crappier person you are, your crapulence goes up, and you unlock powers on your character board. And then there's population, and population can be turned into buildings. Okay, so when you have cleared away when you burn down a building, well, that gives you a ton of population by burning down a building. You can put them down immediately. Most of the buildings in the POZ are tents, right? You like put down tents, like homeless tents, and then there are like unique things, like there's like the drum circle. There is a witch's altar. There's a weed farm. There's the People's Potato Patch, which is the one that inspired the whole game in the first place, right? The People's Potato Patch was like a tarp with like soil spread all over it. People's Potato Patch generates people's potatoes, which is like communist potatoes, with potatoes with like a little flag sticking out of them. Right. So, and you have to do this as quickly as possible. You need to get like yourself like the best loot that you can. And you need to clear out enough space, and you need to build up as many buildings as you possibly can. Oh, and then there's also barricades, and barricades are important because they slow down the police. That'll be important later. And then when you feel like you're tough enough, or when your time runs out, because there's a countdown. As soon as you take down the courthouse, the game mode changes. It's a completely new game now. So you turn over the courthouse and it becomes I forgot the name. I forgot what I named it. Like the Portland Community. It becomes like the communist center of operations. And then from that point on, the POZ has a dictator. Whoever was leader of the POZ when this transition took place, he becomes the dictator. And the talking pillow, which is how you determine who's the leader, it turns over and it becomes into like the tin pot, right? So it's like you're the tin pot dictator of the POZ, and you get like special powers over all the other people. And the only way to take the tin pot from that person is by violence. And then riot cops start pouring into the board from all directions, right? And they're pretty tough. And your job is to hold them off, and you hold them off by trying to kill them, by spending population. Like there's traps you can put down, like his new used needle pile, or the used needle pile is one, and like the tire fire is another one. Just like a pile of dirty laundry which does nothing. And you have to survive for, I think it's 16 turns. And if you survive the police for 16 turns, whoever is the dictator is the winner. So you don't all win. So while they're fighting the cops, you have to keep an eye on the other members of Antifa to make sure that they don't kill you, because they're definitely going to try to kill
Right,
you.
because what is it? Truth is power, and
Yes.
Anyway.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, that's POZ. And there's more to it than that. There's a whole bunch more to it than that. There's everybody has like a mental stability counter, right? Which anytime you get hurt or like there's certain events that move down your mental stability, and when you become depressed, which is like the bottom of the scale, you become easy victims to certain specific players.
So whoever's
Magic
playing
Pink
those
will
specific characters.
Sexually molest you if you are depressed.
Oh.
Right? And then there's another character who, Jack, who's like he's the Reddit atheist, basically. Reddit atheist / Marxist. He can induce you to harm yourself if you're depressed with his cutting wit. And then there's another one, Jorge, who's like this gigantic, he's an idiot, basically is what he is. He's everybody's best friend, right? He's the friend that you can't get rid of. Anyway,
nice.
He will attach to you like a vampire if you're depressed. And there's a whole bunch of character interactions like this. Everybody has their own thing. Steve, who is like basically, who's the guy? The guy whose emails got dumped. I'm drawing a blank. The guy who has the fish on his hand. The pedophile.
Fucking.
John Podesta.
Oh, Chester Bennington's dead.
What? No. Really? No, he isn't.
That's one of the theories. They look a lot alike.
Oh, yeah,
Chester Bennington from Linkin Park.
I know. Yeah, I know.
Anyway.
Yeah. It's basically John Podesta, and he will, if he gets you, he will. He will squeeze adrenochrome.
The only
out
hope
of you.
for you is
he'll juice you for adrenochrome.
Jim Ballard.
He'll juice you for adrenochrome. He's that guy.
And he has his own miniature, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
we have to make sure that we give him the red leather shoes.
I don't want to think about red leather shoes.
I think the red leather shoes was one of those conspiracies where they dye their like leather shoes with the blood of children or whatever, and that's the reason why they get that certain red dye to their shoes.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So that's how the game is played, those are like the overrecurring themes. So you rode like a really successful wave on Kickstarter that got basically kneecapped as soon as it hit funding.
Yep, that's what happened.
And then so you had some extra cheddar, as the kids would like to say.
And I spent it all making this.
But the important thing is that you love it. It's kind of like our last episode where we had this big snafu, but the important thing is that we did it.
Yes.
Yes. What so you're keeping this truck moving forward regardless.
Oh yeah.
Whether which makes me feel good, because it's like, oh yeah, we've had some missteps along the way, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a failure. It just means that we've had some missteps.
Right.
And and now you're moving forward with your next game, and you're kind of formulating
Escape from Epstein Island.
You're kind of formulating some new things on that as well.
Escape from Epstein Island. Yep.
How has your game design philosophy changed since then, and how has your relationship with game theory evolved since making Virtue Signal? Since you gave that oratory in Japanese a long time ago, how has your relationship with game theory changed since then?
Well, but the way I do games hasn't changed a bit. I'm still doing it the same way. You choose what the thing that is you want to model, right? And you reduce it down to like its base components, and like you make it as simple as possible. and make sure it's an accurate model of the way, like something that is a game in real life, right? A game that people understand that they experience. So the game at the center of Escape from Epstein Island, I think. Well, I floated it around and people seem to really like it. First of all, this is going to be the first one that is not jokes. Right. This is not funny. I couldn't resist. I was writing the lore, and when I got to the, I don't want to give too much away. I got to the CIA part, and I just couldn't resist.
Don't give too much away.
I couldn't resist.
It's gotta be.
I made the CIA because I started to look through like CIA stuff related to and they're just insane. The CIA, so I had to write them that way. I have open in front of me right now. I have the manual for the First Earth Battalion. You know what I'm talking about?
The First Earth Battalion?
Yes.
No, I'm gonna have to look this one up.
It's if you've seen the Men Who Stare at Goats.
Yes.
Right. Okay, them. Okay.
Very nice.
Yeah, this thing is just insanity. That's not the CIA, that's the Army, technically. But same deal.
Yes.
This thing is handwritten.
What do you have that open up on? Because I search it and there's like archive.org, Wikipedia, Wikipedia,
I got it on
military history.
archive.org. I have it open. I have the PDF open on my desktop. It's just a whole bunch of hippie nonsense.
Okay, so
anyway, sorry, I digress.
Is it a survival game or is it an adventure game?
So the site is on Epstein Island, right? Little St. James, and there's going to be a dungeon. It's basically spiritually, conceptually, it is a dungeon crawler, right? And the objective,
I love it already.
The objective is to escape. That's very simple. But to escape before you get devoured, quote unquote, devoured by this zombie pedophile named Gil Bates, who is no relation to any living person. He's a completely unique character that no relation to any real person, living or dead.
Are you gonna have that included in the fine text?
Oh yes.
Oh yes. On the back of the box.
And that's gonna be a miniature. He's gonna be he's gonna be sculpted. I'm gonna have that guy, Bayonet and Ricochet. I'm gonna have him do it. Right. So that's the basic premise. Then the things that make it interesting. So it's an exploration. So the rooms will be like random as you go through. I decided to make the entire map linear, right? So there's no branching paths.
Okay.
So this is partly to enhance the terror of it. I wrote into the lore that there are technical reasons why it's basically built like a submarine. Right. Well, there's no hallways. All rooms are like connected end to end.
Right.
Right. So like the bad guy is going to run up and down these hallways, sometimes really fast, right? And if you are in the way, you will die instantly.
What? So you're exploring this. What type of character are you playing? Are you playing
you wake up in one of the barracks.
So you are playing a chart.
It's going to be implied that some of you are possibly genetically engineered. But yes, genetically engineered.
Is it going to be? I mean, it has to be a cooperative game, given the subject, right?
Semi-cooperative.
That's exactly where I was going. Is there a spectrum on cooperative versus competitive? Can you have cooperative, semi-cooperative, semi-competitive, competitive?
Well, there are built-in reasons for you to want to screw over other people or to cooperate. It's down to you, the way you play. But you don't have to be, faster than the bear. You just be faster than the slowest camper. So,
right.
Yeah. You can definitely save yourself by sacrificing another person. That's very much intentional.
Is there an end game, kind of like in Pause, where like after you escape, now you have to explain the horrible decisions that you made getting out?
No. Well, okay. The thing
that was a facetious question. I didn't mean it, but now I'm excited to hear this answer.
Not that. The part of the game that I think is innovative is that I created like these jigsaw puzzles, which are concentric circles. right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so there's like an inner circle, an inner ring, and like an outer ring, and this represents your body / mind, right?
Right.
And this will take the place of hit points. So nothing can do any physical damage to you, right? Anything that could do physical damage to you will just kill you. You're just dead, right? So
Well, you're a child.
yeah, you're a child. What can you do? But like the decisions you make and like the things you encounter, they will chip away at your pink mind, right? And take away your humanity, so to speak. And if it reaches the center, then you get taken over. Like you succumb to evil. Let's put it that way.
I think it's fair. Yeah. The vicious cycle stops somewhere, just not with you.
Right. That's I've been spending the past 2 weeks just like I started right into designing, and I made a few rooms, and I was like, you know what? I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of doing stuff. I don't really have a plan, so I've spent the last 2 weeks writing the lore to the island, which I believe I shared with you. I don't know if you read it yet.
I read the whole thing.
Oh, well, it's much longer now.
Oh, well then you'll need to reshare that with me, because I think the last notes, what was it, 20 pages was the last one that I read, and then I didn't have much notes other than, holy crap, how much of this is real? And you're like, aha.
Yeah, aha. Well, it's 24 now. I like the unreliable.
Well, then my homework isn't that much longer.
I like the unreliable narrator style of. So this is a lore written for like many different perspectives, none of which can be trusted. And also some of it is actually real. Like there's a lot of stuff from Wikipedia which is totally true.
100%. You can't put it on the internet. You can't just send it to people on the internet unless it's true. They'll come after you if you do.
I hear that.
If you don't. But
my plan is to not publish the lore. Like you can see it because you're an insider. But the plan is to not publish the lore, but to use the lore to design the rest of the game, like for my own reference.
The important.
So the lore is implied.
Thing right now too.
The lore is implied, and maybe I'll release it to some people at a later date. But
I was going to say, if anyone's asking me for insider information, I am also not a reliable source. So if you hear it from me, it's going to be filtered. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the document is ambiguous enough that I can release it, because I'm not really giving anything away, because you don't know what parts of this are true, because it's very self-contradictory.
It really could be fun to maybe do it as maybe a couple of like your YouTube videos where you've got them kind of like stitched together, where you can find this video here, and then like the video links you to the Epstein Island.
I was thinking that.
Like webpage, and then like in the webpage, it could bring you to like the Facebook group, and there's like these branching paths. And it would really only be for like the tryhards and such. But I don't
know if anybody would see it.
You'll have to figure out, right? You'll have to figure out how much of it is true, and then you can get like really meta with it, and then you're like showing up to a like a pizza place in New York, and
that would be fun. Like Local 54, like do like you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah,
Local 54, Local 50. I can never remember the number. Or This House Has People in It, which is like just this long string of bull crap.
Yeah. Well, it would be a concerted effort to get on like one of those local news channels and like drop a hint or like a clue. It's like a breadcrumb trail to more information. It's like, congratulations, you found yourself into like this weird website, and it's like a cat eating a peanut butter jelly sandwich. Was it worth it? Was the juice worth the squeeze?
Was the juice worth the squeeze? I would like to do that. I think those things are so much fun. Or like I Love Bees and stuff like that.
I don't get that one.
That's an older one. That's like possibly the first alternate reality game. It turned out to be just like an advertisement for Halo. The actual content wasn't interesting, but like the way people got to it was like really fun. Like people like like messages hidden inside JPEGs and like giving coordinates
Just look.
and times for like payphones, and people had to go to the payphone to like and pick it up when it rang to get the next clue. So much fun. ARGs.
Dead drops.
ARGs.
Dead.
Mm-hmm.
I think dead drops are still a huge thing for people these days. You know what dead drops are?
Yes.
And they're kind of it's the same thing. It's a very convoluted not hide and seek. What is that called when you have like a list
Scavenger
of
hunt.
laundry items?
Scavenger
Scavenger hunt. It's just it's a scavenger hunt that seems cooler. It doesn't like go find a blue rock. Okay.
Blue rock.
This one is like go find the USB drive that's hidden behind the fourth brick underneath the green window on 6th Street. Oh man, well which 6th Street?
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly. You got to check all the 6 streets.
yeah, exactly. I guess was there ever any intention to with your board games? And we've been going on for 2 hours. Wow, look at us! Look,
2 hours
would you
and 5
would you
minutes.
look at us?
Would you look at us?
Nice. Just take a look at us. Was there ever any intention to like win the culture war with it, or was it really just a form of catharsis on your end when you made these
Can
board
it be
games?
won? I don't know. I think it's the woke thing is over. By the way, in case you didn't know, it's completely done. As of last month, it's done. It's done. It's never coming back.
Oh, does that mean that we don't have market share anymore?
Market share will diminish. That's why we have to move on to other projects. Yeah, the woke stuff,
Okay.
like if you remember it, great. 10 years from now, you'd be like, wow, remember this stuff? That was crazy. That's what Virtue Signal is going to be. It'll be like Trump the board game. Wow, remember the 80s?
To be fair, I do think, I think you win the culture war, but like with most things, so eventually someone's going to swing the pendulum the other way because they get bored, and then they're going to say, well, we want this land back. Okay, well, where'd you take it from? So
Yeah.
I do think it can be won. It's not a permanent thing, much like freedom is not a
Indeed.
permanent thing.
Indeed.
So is it? I guess the better question would be, was the intent to swing the pendulum the other way, or was it just to make you feel better and not?
Well,
that I'm
you
claiming
always
that you're coping.
dream about like winning the culture war, but I never, I never had enough reach, to win the culture war. It was annoying to a lot of people. That's it made a lot of people
we
very
can write
unhappy.
home about that. I could put that on my gravestone. I was annoying to the people who it mattered the most.
Yes. Here lies Patty. Here lies Patrick. He annoyed so many people. Now he's dead.
And now he's
And
dead.
now he's dead.
In the game of life, did he win? No, but we like to think he did all right.
And to
He
finish
scored
it out,
one 2-pointer once.
after this, and I might enlist your help for this one. I want to do a war game. I want to do Civil War II.
Ooh,
On a map.
with Boog Boys.
Well, it'll be like
What kind of war game?
it'll be for the United States, right? Where the way I have it planned out is like the first stage of the war is like you beat off the deep state, which is like moribund and like a shell of its
I'd prefer if you went back to slag off instead of beat off.
beat back.
You said you said beat
Beat.
off the deep state. I'm like, that's one way to win.
Well,
Okay,
they might enjoy that.
Sorry,
Uh,
it's getting late. I'm starting to fall apart.
yeah. I'll be quick.
Okay.
To destroy the deep state. I want to. I'm going to be as salty as possible. So like some real world like terrorist attacks you could do in the United States, like poisoning like the Orange County aquifer to kill everybody in Los Angeles.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I want piracy along the interstates, especially in the Great Basin and out in the West, where like there's no police, where the roads are unpatrolled. So yeah, use sabotage and piracy to destroy what's left of the United States government, and then build your own country. And it's like you can build like competing countries, like inside the United States, and they can be, and you can choose your theme. Like one of them is going to be the Portland occupied zone. There's going to be an Antifa state up in the north, and they'll all be very satirical. Go back to doing comedy.
Right.
Right.
Well, in case you haven't been keeping up, there is a petition for like Eastern Washington and Oregon to become part of the
Cascadia?
greater Idaho area.
Cascadia? Oh, that one. Yeah. I have seen that. That's not going to happen.
Keep that in mind.
It's not gonna
No, it's not going to happen. It's never going to pass a
It's never
convention
going to
state.
pass.
But it is funny to think about. We'd basically have to buy off all of their back taxes. But I always kind of like think about it when it for people who don't know, you can go to like your county assessor site and find people that owe like a shit ton of back taxes that haven't paid it, and you can basically buy people out of their property by paying a couple of grand in back taxes, and then
great.
show up and be like, hey. So anyway, I own your house now because you just haven't paid your taxes. It's like, what?
What?
Yeah,
Oh.
no big deal. We just paid the back taxes on Eastern Washington, but who really wants Spokane?
Exactly.
You can have it.
Yeah, you can keep that.
Well, I think if anyone's made it this far, congratulations.
I know one person who
I
listens to the whole
can't.
thing. Well, it's one of the more interesting shows.
I was gonna say, I'm really appreciative to anyone who's listened. I'm really appreciative for this time with you, William. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we're signing off.
I believe so. I gotta get to bed. I gotta catch a nap. As of the time of the recording of this, it's gonna be Veterans Day
Cool.
in
Thank you
about
for your
an hour,
service.
and
I'm gonna go make pizza.
thank you for your service in the meme wars.
Yes, a veteran of forum wars.
Yes. Anyway, you enjoy your pizza. Pineapple or no pineapple?
None today.
None today. I can totally agree with that. All right, everybody.
Cheers.
Signing
Signing off.
This is your show.
This is
You
my
sign off. Do it
show,
live.
and we're signing off. Goodbye.
Goodbye.